wonderful good day, folks, and welcome back. Magic's here, and well, after making 3 videos on Sultai Control, it is time for the 3rd run of Bant Control deck. And you can see that I made quite some changes. And to be honest, I played this deck to, I guess, 4 or 5 leagues, I'm not quite sure, off camera to figure out some more slots. And well, I started with Wall of Omens, but Wall of Omens is out of the deck now. I have beaten Prowers and Burn decks out them, mostly. Against Prowess, it mostly came down to me having a nice curve of removal to keep the pressure off the board, and Condemn is really great against them. And then you just top that off with an life gain spell like Uro or Timely to get out of range, and most of the times that's game over. So I'm honestly quite happy with my matchup against aggressive decks right now. So what is left? Mostly decks that are trying to go over you. All these reclamation decks, or rather all kinds of Uro flavor. And to combat that a little bit more, I put back Shark Typhoon. And I honestly was quite impressed with this card. Imagine there was a game against Ponza where they had Choke and Blood Moon out, and I had only a single blue source, untapped, and all the rest were kind of mountains. Then I top decked the Shark Typhoon. I think I had like 6 land drops, right? Then I said, okay, let's go all in. Tap all my 6 mana sources down. No more blue mana. Just create a 5/5 Shark. And they didn't find the double bolt or bolt plus stomp or something like that to get rid of the Shark. And it flew over there in a few turns and won the game. So I really like the scalability. Same thing against Tron. It was also a nice finisher there in this matchup. And well, in the aggro matchups, I just cycled it. And since I run a little bit more spot removal already in my main deck, alongside Condemn and Aether Gust, that was also fine. And well, those were the Wall of Omen slots. I included the 4th Force of Negation, because there were a lot of games where, especially in the control mirrors or even against aggro, it came down to whenever I tap out to drop a Planeswalker or an Uro. Sometimes I got heavily punished for that, but I had to do it to keep going, right? To build up a board presence or just do something because I didn't have a Cryptic or another counterspell in hand. And suddenly you lose these games nonetheless, and I think 4th Force of Negation can help to tap out a little bit more often on our 3 drops and 4 drops, and for that reason I include 4th copy, especially also in the mirror matches to have more forces, because most of the times it comes down to who has more forces. Weird enough. Then for Force, I think I cut the 3rd Mana Leak. I was not impressed by the 3rd Mana Leak. It was really awkward with Path to Exile. Games tend to go long, and I don't want more than 2 copies, honestly. And since I don't have to counter that much creatures early game, or the creatures I have to counter are mostly red and green. With the Aether Gust, I have that covered too. And the Force, I think, was put in for the Dovin's Veto that I ran before in the 2-mana slot. I think the counter suite is still. I think it's okay. What else? Yes, I run 1 Soul Guide Lantern instead of the main deck Ashiok, not because the main deck Ashiok was not nice. There were several games where it won, where it either turboed out my own Uro or just stopped their Uro, stuff like that. I'm a little bit heavy on the 3 mana slot here, so I figured I'd put the Lantern in the main deck. It can still be cycled in matchups where the hate is not relevant. It can still target an Uro out of the opponent's bin. It's not as strong as Ashiok in certain cases, that's for sure. And it might be still correct to run the Ashiok main deck, but this deck feels very 3 heavy, so I'll just try this out, but I could easily see myself switching the cards for the next league. Yeah, then there were 2 opts, if you remember the last leagues. During the testing I have done off camera, I mean, opt is never that dead, but I was also not impressed by it, because with 25 lands in the deck, I don't need the opts to hit land drops. Even with the opts, you draw a lot of lands in the late game nonetheless between Pro and all your planeswalkers. So yeah, my only source of inspiration right now for Bant is Doom Switch. He also dropped the opts. He was also not impressed by them. Still on the snack plan, I looked at his list and wanted to fill out for Ice-fangs kind of, or the effect thereof. So I decided to add 2 growth spirals. Can revisit how this goes. Ideally, of course, you want to play this on 2 and directly ramp into Cryptic or Fact or Fiction Jace, right? Even a Supreme Verdict on turn 3 can be pretty good. Now, I don't run the second copy in the main deck because in all of those leagues I never faced really a creature deck, so I can see how we will now face all the creature decks around, and I immediately regret it, and the Condemn should still be in the sideboard because it's mostly there for burn and prowess, so that's a little narrow, right? But yeah, the more I remove from my lower curve here and the top heavier I go, the more clunky the deck becomes, and the more I want some form of ramp. Sometimes also like 2 Snapcaster Mages felt a little bit much. They are nice in certain situations for sure, but most of the times I actually put the spells back on top with Sanctuary and the Ur eats up the rest of the spells so that Snapcaster Mage became a little bit irrelevant, as sad as that is. So I could also see myself going down to simply 1 copy and play more growth spirals. But if I use my reference experience from my Sulta leagues, growth spiral is a fine card. It's, I think, better than opt, but it's also not the card that I would immediately slam like I did Ice-fang with Snowlands, right? Doesn't really fix any matchups, it just ramps you a little bit ahead if you're lucky. And usually you want to do that like use a removal spell on 1, throw spiral on 2 into another removal spell, your 3rd land drop. That is not something you want to do with Path to Exile necessarily, but certainly doable against prowess in the post-board game, so even though it sucks to give them more resources, it's better than taking 6 damage from a Swift Spear or something, so I think that's still okay there, and I mean against a control mirror, building up the mana advantage and winning the counter wars is always important. And then the only card left for, I think, another 2-drop. Yeah, I'm still a little bit more top heavy. This could also be another 2-mana cantrip easily. But I was impressed by the Fact of Fictions in the control mirrors. It's simply great to end of turn this. Use the Sanctuary, put it back on top, use it again, and your hand is full entirely again. And sometimes it's nice to gain card advantage without tapping down in your turn for a Planeswalker, while the Planeswalkers offer a nice access to win the game without ever attacking. Sometimes you just need raw card advantage without risking to lose the game, so I want to try out one more Fact or Fiction in the deck. Could still be wrong, but that is what I want to try out today. Certainly greedy, but I think we have enough tools to beat aggro decks, really. Like, we have 5 more tools, or most of the aggro decks are red-green, so we have 8 more tools to deal with the creature matchups, right? For the control matchups, we still have more Dovins, Veto, Whale or Summers, and maybe even 2 Ashioks. We have the Ashioks also against Dredge deck or Titan decks. Aether Gust also great against Titan, and then just some more Tron hate here with these cards, maybe. But I think most of the matter is covered with this 75. You might draw the wrong half against the wrong matchup, like drawing all your Path to Exiles against the control mirror. But besides that, we have a sweet mix of counters, removal spell, and card advantage. Most of the cards are very flexible, then draw you into more cards. We have enough finishers. We have Uro to stabilize. We have Teferi to block their counter magic, which honestly felt that this is the one reason to run Bant over Sultai, and there were a lot of games where it came down to Teferi winning. Like I played, I think, against 2 Ad Nauseam decks, and it's so great to resolve Teferi in that matchup to not only block the Lotus Bloom, but to only circumvent their Whale of Summers, their Thoughtseizes. Not their Thoughtseizes, but their Pact of Negation, so it's hard for them to ever resolve an Adnos. They can't prey on you tapping out because they can't do it at instant speed anymore. So those situations, the control mirrors, this is always a card you want to resolve with your Whale of Summers. It came up even against an Aether Vial deck where you just bounce the Aether Vial on 3 on the play and set them back on the tempo. So this is really a card that I am missing in Sultai. Like another 3-drop Planeswalker that has as much impact on the game as Teferi does. The only card comparable would be Liliana the Last Hope, but she is not as great against any deck Teferi. So yeah, I honestly like this version a little bit more. This is my jam. I will just play this, tune this until the season is over or until the meta shifts in a way where this deck becomes crap, but I don't feel like going the reclamation route with 4 demands and 4 spot removal and all this stuff. That, to me, honestly feels way too greedy against the aggro decks. So I like this version a little bit more because it's more balanced across the board. I don't think we have that much bad matchups, so we have a fair shot of winning everything. And I went at least 3-2 in all of the leagues, mostly better, but yeah, never made the trophy, unfortunately. Someone always stops me from doing that, or I have to play better. But yeah, enough rambling. Let's see how this version goes.
Push the goddamn button!
You heard what she said.
Okay, guys, so I make a voiceover over a league that I played. I played it with music in the background, and since it's so hot, like we have around 13-9 degrees here in Germany right now, I didn't want to play this live throughout a session, so I just played a little bit, went doing something else, then came back here, and over the weekend I completed this league, so let's jump to the first match. We are on the play. I have a very clunky hand, but we have all the land drops, and hopefully we find some counter magic to stall into this Time Raveler or Effect of Fiction. Like, you just need a few pieces to stall this out, and then Effect of Fiction can maybe put this game away. We face a Windswept, so could be a Noble Hierarch deck. That's usually what this land implies. Here we go, and it's a Noble Hierarch indeed. So here we fetch out an Hallowed Fountain because we already have 2 green sources on the battlefield. Now we don't have any interaction here. So depending on what they will drop, we have to sacrifice the Time Raveler. Be anything at this point, could even be a Bant Mirror or something that goes a little bit lower with creatures. But 2 white mana here. And it's absent color. The Stoneforge? No, it's a Ranger Captain of Eos. Let's see what this thing searches up. Maybe it's a Death Shadow variant of some sorts. Maybe it's an Voted Druid deck, and they search out Giver of Runes. But they search out the Walking Ballista. So if you follow Pioneer, you know that Walking Ballista in these kind of decks is usually combined with the Hallowed God card, where if you give the Walking Ballista life gain, it has then the ability with the God card on the battlefield. If it deals 1 damage, it gains another counter. So with 2 counters on the Ballista already, and it giving lifelink, it can shoot indefinitely until the opponent is dead. So we draw Growth Spiral, but at this point I feel like I have to slow down my opponent a little bit. So the Teferi will die either way, but I don't want to bounce them the Ranger when they have full mana, so they get more creatures. So I bounce back the Noble Hierarch to stall a little bit. Mind you, Supreme Verdict, we have only 1 in the deck. Immediately face the matchup where I want more Supreme Verdicts, and yeah, they fill out the board. Now I want to draw it, but of course it's not in, or there's only 1 in the deck, so the probability is very low. Now they have 5 mana available to do their combo. They have to drop the Ballista on 2, like I mentioned, and they need the Hallowed on the board, which costs 3 mana, and they need another 2 mana to activate it. So the combo is not the quickest, but later on in the game, when they have the mana, they can do it whenever they want. And since we run Path to Exiles, we kind of ramp them into it if they apply pressure like that. The board becomes bigger, so I really need a Supreme Verdict now. So we fire off Fact or Fiction. It looks 5 cards deep after all, and lo and behold, we find the Supreme Verdict. Now, I could put the lands into my hand and aim for the Mystic Sanctuary, but I feel like we are under so much pressure right now, I have to use the Supreme Verdict exactly in this moment. Sure, they gain a few life points, but honestly, in their spot, since they know I pick a Supreme Verdict in my upkeep, they should have used the Ranger Captain to silence us. Then we couldn't have used the Supreme Verdict. Then they could just attack for more. But yeah, we Supreme Verdict, make the 5th land drop, play the Lantern out because we can't do anything with the colorless mana anyways, and the Lantern at least prevents a witness, and takes the Ranger Captain out. They play Devoted Druid, so they are also on that combo, but since we have drawn the Path to Exile, we can now play the Teferi, play an extra land drop, we can untap 2 lands, and they are only on 3 mana. They don't have Vizier of Remedies yet, so we don't need to path right away and do it in response when they put the Vizier on the stack or something. Let's see. Here comes the Hallowed. Alright. So once this card resolves, we have no removal for it. We can only bounce it back, kind of like the Cloth is, but better because it's white. So Aether Gust is also not an option. But yeah, now I don't take a risk, and I think I path to exile the Devoted Druid. Can't do much in response with 2 mana. So they could put a counter on the Devoted Druid and use it, but there's nothing to do. Now they have 4 land drops. They can play the Ballista on 2 with these 4 mana, but they can't immediately combo off because they need another 2 mana to give it the ability from the Hallowed. So I don't have to answer the Hallowed with my 5 mana Teferi, and we have the 3 mana Teferi now. Drawn it somewhere in between, and yeah, we can bounce it back to slow them even more down. I think I hold up the Soul Guide Lantern simply because I want to stop an Eternal Witness if they have that, and yeah, I put the Mana Leak on top instead of the Fact or Fiction because if we draw into it, they can't resolve the Hallowed anytime soon. They still have 6 cards in their hand, but we have Growth Spiral to go through our deck, try to attack their black source. Maybe they don't run a basic swamp. I don't know what the black source is for. Maybe with Seer or something. Who knows what combos they run. Here comes Hallowed. They have 7 cards still in hand, but we have 2 Planeswalkers. We can cycle this Soul Guide Lantern if we have to. So they bait with a Ranger Captain, have to answer it. Don't want to get them Giver of Roots or something. Don't care about the bird right now. Bird can be strong if they have a township. But yeah, now we find a Jace. We have 3 Planeswalkers uncontested, so I cycle this, try to find counter magic, and yeah. All of these Planeswalkers going off here, there's no way for them ever coming at us again, beating us. Like, it's only a matter of time between Brainstorm and the extra draw from Teferi and all the extra mana it produces. Like, we will never be tapped out. They only have 4 land drops, so they can at most play 1-2 spells per turn. So Mana Leak is still online. Put it back on top, play the Jace, and get them this way. Yeah, now with Snapcaster Mage for Fact or Fiction, it's game over. Then go for the sideboard. I want probably Aether Gust. They run green creatures after all, and need a few more answers in case they go for a quick Devoted Druid combo, and Aether Gust can stop that a little bit. So far we have seen nothing where we want Force of Negation for, so I think we cut it out of the deck. I bring in Whale of Summer because we saw the black mana and what it is for. Maybe they run Tidehollow Sculler, maybe Thought Seizes after sideboard. So I decided to bring in Whale of Summer to protect my hand. Yeah, and cut down the Force of Negations. And I don't think Ashiok is that great. It can maybe stop a Court of Calling, but that's about it. To stop an Eternal Witness, we still have counters and the Soul Guide Lantern, and since they will fill out the board, we can't really protect the Ashiok because we don't run Wall of Omens or anything, so I think it's not needed. The Sad, not that great. Sand, eh. Condemn is only good if they attack us with maybe the Ranger Captain or something. Snapcaster Mage. At least we can Uro. And they don't have a Noble Hierarch, so their start is very slow here. Don't know if their key is correct. Prepare for the Uro. Draw Cryptic here. So if they only go for a Ranger Captain on 3, that is a very slow start. Too bad we don't have the Mana Leak here. Tremendously good, but okay. Kitchen Finks. That's another neat combo with the Heliod. Like, if Persist trigger leads the Kitchen Finks of coming back, they will immediately be reset because the Heliod will trigger a 1/1 counter whenever you gain life, so cool. Here I play the Misty out. If they Thought Seize us, I will use Whale of Summer. If nothing happens, fetch out the Hallowed Fountain to prepare for a Supreme Verdict. Here they go with a Ranger Captain. We can't Cryptic or anything. Yeah, go for Hallowed Fountain because we still have Condemn. Probably pick Ballista again, yes. Then we get the Kitchen Things. Condemn, nice, because it doesn't give them a land drop. Care about the life totals. And it fills the graveyard, so very nice. Now we have Cryptic up, plus Whale of Summer in case they play a Thoughtseize or something. Could use Mystic Sanctuary to put Condemn back on top, then draw into it. But it's nice in the graveyard for the Uro. And this is the situation I meant, like Snapcaster can be fine, but never really that happy in drawing it. I don't know. Would be nice against aggro, but most of the times you really need your bin for the Sanctuary and Uro, so could have been something else, to say the least. Another kitchen things. Now I try the Cryptic here. Or I would Cryptic when I'm seeing my own play. And here comes a Whale of Summer. Can't do anything about that. Don't have forces in our deck. But we draw at least a Fact of Fiction, so we will take 6 damage next turn if they want to even 8, so that's a dangerous situation. So I hope that Fact of Fiction can find Supreme Verdict again, I guess. If they want to drop their whole combo in one turn, they need 9 mana, so that's not doable yet. Go to 10 though. And Growth Spiral into the Cryptic. It's a nice card to have against a Hallowed, and then let's use Fact of Fiction. No Supreme Verdict this time, but still a nice draw 3, I guess. Take Aether Gust here. And with Sanctuary, we can then put Condemn back on top, drop the Uro, and all their aggression is stopped, kind of. So I like that. It's like a good turn. That's also nice synergy, that Fact of Fiction fills out your graveyard. So nice for an Uro. It's cool to have. We have now 2 Cryptics in hand. They have only 3 cards, so it doesn't look that bad here. Like, with the Uro on the battlefield, it will be hard for them to attack us. We still have Cryptic or Aether Gust up. Even Whale of Summer if they attempt to discard plus Aether Gust. And we could still Condemn, like, yeah. I can use Township here and try to slowly outsize the Uro, so we can't stall forever, and of course they don't need their combat phase to win. And here they have a Collected Company, so I don't want them to fill out the board. Use Aether Gust here. They probably put it back on top. Such a nice draw. Yeah, put it back on top. Here it comes again. Now we can't counter it. Let's see what they will find. Thing is, the Hallowed can jump out of a Collected Company, and it does. And they find a Scavenging Ooze, which can eat out the Uro. So whenever we tap too low, they can drop the Ballista now and kill us immediately with the combo. But if we don't apply pressure, I mean they are still at 25, then they will just use the Township and their creatures will outgrow the Uro. So we are now in a really tough situation all of a sudden. So I decide we need a Supreme Verdict, kind of. And we draw it indeed. So we will lose the Uro here, but he will be back in no time because... No, he will not be back in no time because he has the Scavenging Ooze. So, yeah. I think I should bounce the Ooze here at least now with a Cryptic or attempt it, but I don't do that because I fear his combo, which makes, yeah, which is also tough because we know he has Ballista in hand with 1 unknown, so I think this attack was loose then. Like, could have at least Cryptic in their end step and tap their team or something. So now, sure, we can Supreme Verdict away the Oops, Hierarch and Ranger Captain, but the Kitchen Finks will be reset. And our Condemn doesn't do anything right now, so that was also maybe not correct to put back on top. But yeah, in hindsight, I shouldn't have attacked with the Uro, just end of turn, maybe bounce the Mystic Sanctuary and draw a card, put Aether Gust back on top to prevent something, or try to find a path for the Ooze, or bounce the Ooze, like, could have been better placed than attacking. So I think I this game way in this situation. Because we had far more resources than they do. Sure, the township is annoying, but they can't really attack into the Condemn with the Heliod. We can block every other creature and yeah, get them with the Condemn then, so I think the attack was loose. And if we draw the Supreme Verdict in the next turn, we can still Verdict, and then they can't ooze out the Uro. So yeah, you can see here how this works. Kitchen Things comes back, the Heliod will trigger and puts a 1/1 counter back on things, so there's no way to get rid of it. Don't have Mystic Sanctuaries in the deck anymore, so that was not a good play. And they used their Ranger Captain, so I can't even bounce the Heliod back. Comes the Walking Ballista. Here I bounce or try to bounce the Heliod, but he has a Whale of Summer, so it doesn't matter. But was yeah, we had to attempt to bounce the Heliod. If we don't, he has 2 mana open and can just go for the combo. So I think going there for this play is okay, but now he has the combo on the battlefield. But we have the snap to clean up this Walking Ballista at least. So they're not yet out of the game. But we have to pay 6 mana to get the Ballista off. We have to do it, because else he just goes for the combo. If you play removal in response to the Heliod trigger, he just aims at it again, so there's no way out. So we have to play for the Supreme Verdict and take the 3 damage. Then we hope he doesn't drop another Ballista. Domes us a few times. This is, yeah, he didn't have to ping the Snapcaster Mage because it will die anyways to the Verdict, so missed a point of damage there. Not that it will decide the game or anything, but still. And yeah, we fetch now, so that we have Cryptic up. He can't do any fancy plays in response to the fetch trigger or anything. Now he has more cards in hand all of a sudden. There's no Uru in the bin to draw up. And here comes Choke, so we are forced to Cryptic that. I draw a card because we don't have time to put it back on top, and then yeah, we are now sitting here with 2 Whale of Summers, and they haven't played any black spells this game, so makes me wonder what the black mana is for actually, if not discard. Draw Growth Spiral. I try to hit a Jace here to maybe upgrade our hand, but we just drew a Hallowed Fountain. Now we hope that they play a black spell, but I tapped down the second green source, so that was... yeah, we had to do it for the Growth Spiral, of course, so not a mistake, but... yeah, now we flood out a little bit. Turn 10. More than 10 land drops in play. So, yeah. Opponent has only 6 land drops. There is the difference between the cards. I mean, we are 31 cards into our deck and haven't drawn any Planeswalkers. Only 1 Uro, the 1 Fact or Fiction, and then I could see to the court because he will grab another Ranger Captain and get the Ballista. Could have waited for that, but I'm pretty sure he goes for that, or even an Eternal Witness or something like that. So I misplayed the turn where I attacked with the Uro. Without that, I think we would have been in the game, or probably win, because the Uro would have been still in the graveyard and we could have drawn like cards with it or something like that. Alright, hand with 2 path and a Cryptic. Not that excited, especially because they run Veil of Summer, but I still want Cryptic Commands to be able to deal with the Hallowed. One of the only ways to deal with it is bouncing it back to hand and then counter it on the way back down. At least we are on the play. We have Path to Exile against the Druid combo. Right. Throw Spiral, that is not the worst, so we can directly ramp ahead into the Cryptic on turn 3. That's a very nice play. So one of the situations where we put Growth Spiral 4 in our deck. Here comes the Ranger Captain, finds one part of the combo again. This card is so good, like, Tutor's your combo is a 3/3 for 3 with a silence attached to it. Pretty nice. Pretty good creature. And it can't be Aether Gust, so well, here we go for the Growth Spiral. And we draw an Uro, not bad. So we can ramp ahead with the Uro or hold up Cryptic Command. But if they drop a 3rd land, they could have Veil of Summer plus a 3 drop, so I decided to go for the Uro. Like, if they don't have the Scavenging Ooze in this turn, then we can drop the Uro into the game next turn, probably, because we will path this turn. We have now the fetch land, and yeah, the Uro is on the battlefield. Draw a lot of Cryptic Commands here. So because Veil of Summer is a factor, I didn't bank on the Cryptic to do anything with. We need at least like an Aether Gust backup or something, then it feels better. And we still have Path to Exile to break something scary up, but he has the Ooze indeed. And the Uro clan is throttled. Too bad. Damage out another white source for Supreme Verdict. That would be a good turn to draw it and cast it. Get my 3 for 1. Should eat out the Uro now. Or, yeah, when we play the next spell, I guess. So we draw more Path to Exiles. Now we have a full house. So nothing to do. Now we can eat our graveyard away. Them Scavenging Ooze, ruining our plants. Here comes a Township. 3 unknowns, 1 Ballista in hand, so yeah. Now it's time to fire off a Path to Exile. Prevent some damage, get the graveyard hate off the table. Doesn't spend the mana, so leaves us at least with some cards in the graveyard for the next Uro. Now he can play nothing and force us to do something in using Township. But that also gives us more time. And this means to me, or tells me, that he doesn't have a Veil of Summer in hand, because else he probably would have jammed into the open mana. So, I mean, this is fine in the end, because we still have 2 Path to Exiles, so it's not that scary yet. And the good news is he probably has no Veto Summer in hand, so Cryptics will have text this time around. He should use it for a silence here, and then he can still resolve something, but he decides to go for the land drop. This means he has now 7 mana available. And here comes the Heliod. And I think I go for counter draw. Bend one piece of the combo. Sure he doesn't have Whale of Summer, so. And he drops a second one, unfortunately, so. One on the field. We could put Cryptic back on top, but I think I want source of card advantage here. And we find another Uro, so nice draw. It's not too bad because we have still Cryptic up. And we draw again into the Fact of Fiction, so this is a match where we drew it every game and can see how well it performs. And so far, the card is really nice. Pretty good one-drop, one-off, and certainly usable in situations where Jace is not usable. So let's see. I can only hope that they did draw Whale of Summer here. If they did, it becomes really tough. And they have a Ranger Captain. Now this is scary because letting them resolve a silence could mean game over. And it can find a second Ballista, so I decide to use the Cryptic and cross my fingers they don't have a Whale of Summer. I still attempt to bounce the Heliod, just to have a chance to counter it with my other Cryptic Command that we put on top. If this would have failed, we would have not been dead because they have to play the Ballista for 4. But yeah, they just play it back out, so at least it can maybe prevent collected company, but maybe the bounce was loose. But then again, they can't drop the Ballista into play here. Sure, we had the path to exile, so maybe that's not bad. So maybe counter draw would have been better then. And yeah, now I flashback Uro, which was a mistake, honestly. Because we know they have the Ballista, I should have just held my mana open for the Fact of Fiction, because that are the situations where we want it, or hold up the Cryptic. Because now they can play the Ballista for 4 and still have the mana available for the combo, so that is very dangerous. Sure, we still have the path to exile, so we would then have to play the Jace, target the Ballista with the bounce, and yeah, either they try to attempt the combo and we path to exile it and they kill the Jace, or they let it just resolve, so still pretty awkward situation, but in this case we would still have Uro on the battlefield. But if they draw another land drop here, they can double attempt the combo and we can't break it up, so that was pretty dangerous what I did. I should have just held up Fact of Fiction, because yeah, why play the Uro out when you also can draw 3 with effect? Like, I think that was too risky in this situation. Now he attempts it, so we path it, and yeah. They can shoot 2 at us or whatever, but it doesn't matter with the Uro on the battlefield. This means we can drop the Jace now, but still think that's too risky. Like, why not hold up the Cryptic and hope they don't draw Whale of Summer, of course. And even if something goes wrong, we can still Fact of Fiction, I guess. Okay. Well, on the bright side now, since the risky move paid off, we have an Uro on the battlefield that kills them in a few turns, draws us cards, gains us life, so we're not that likely to die against their fair plan. We have Witness now checked with the Soul Guide Lantern. We still have Cryptic up, so If they go for a Ballista here with 4 mana and use Veil of Summer, they can only attempt the combo. Yeah, they can attempt the combo, then we would have to crack the Soul Guide Lantern and hope to rip a removal spell, where we probably do it in response to the Veil of Summer and try to rip an Aether Gust. It's Vizier, but that card doesn't matter, so it's not something to use the Cryptic on. Alright, now we can Factor Fiction. At worst they resolve a company or something, but that can't find a Ballista. And here we get the Aether Gust now, so that we can finally fight against the Veil of Summer when trying to resolve Cryptic. But the path to exile is also nice, the Shark Typhoon. But yeah, I think I go for the Aether Gust plus Snap, because Snap means we can use the path anyways, so now we are pretty much ahead. Drew another Aether Gust to make sure the Cryptic will resolve 100%, so this stage in the game with the Uro on the battlefield in this hand, I think you can't lose anymore. Can take the damage, then he has to jump next turn, but yeah. Jace not needed. Just don't tap out and risk anything anymore. We took enough risks in this game, so comes a company, put it back on top. He wants it, we know what is coming, and yeah. So he draws it, and that isn't a Veil of Summer at least. And put it back on top again. Tries Ballista now, we can Cryptic it or something, or just let it resolve and use Oust. Right. Now we could tap the team here and try to win. Which I probably should have done, but if they have a path to exile or something else, it backfires again, so... Or use a company in response or something, like... Then hit an exile effect, like a Fiend Hunter, and he looks sad suddenly, so... Alright. This is fine, then we drop the Time Raveler and bounce back the Noble Hierarch, and then they can't use Veil of Summer anymore, so the Cryptic becomes better. We can also oust the Noble Hierarch and bounce back the Heliod to certainly prevent the combo, whatever happens, so... We know that they have a Whale on top. They can draw into it with the Horizon Canopy, but that takes away a land drop, so takes away resources. Yeah, and they had a Whale of Summer. So good thing we tried out the Teferi, and that they couldn't use it under Aether Gust. Yeah, now we take away the Noble. We can't bounce the Heliod now, but that's fine. Now we have still Cryptic up. They have to attempt a Ballista for 4. So we can just counterbounce and everything is good. That is fine. Can bounce that back with the Teferi. And here's the company. Yeah, it doesn't matter if I bounce it, draw, whatever. At least this way, if they have a path or something, we can Snapcaster or Cryptic. Now let's see if they block. And bounce afterwards if we have to. They could sack it here and deny us the draw. That's also fine. And yeah, with this board, we can now drop the Jace. We still have Snap Cryptic up. We can brainstorm into more stuff. This is not losable anymore. Can kill himself with the Horizon Canopy if he wants to. Just tap it. Alright, here comes the Heliod again. Doesn't matter. Nothing on the board. Noble, sure. Can bounce that with the Jace. And this is the spot where you snap Cryptic and yeah, counter bounce the Noble and win from there. Because then now we have two attackers. Alright, nice game. Misplayed game 2, else I think we would have won that as well. So this matchup feels okay. The Veil of Summers can get you, and they have these. They have Collected Company, but feels pretty nice overall, thanks to Uro and yeah, thanks to Uro, I guess, and Mystic Sanctuary. All right, second match. Jump ahead. The advantage of making voiceovers is that we can jump ahead. Here we have 5 land drops, a Force, and a Teferi. Doesn't seem that great. Don't like to keep 5 landers on average. This can be better. They have creatures, that is. We have the one of Supreme Verdict again. They lead on a basic island. Play our weakest fetch land first to get a Breeding Pool or Hallowed Fountain. Probably a Breeding Pool first because of Growth Spiral. And I think the mana base is pretty nice overall. Without Ice-fang in the deck, really, you can fetch out your dual lands with the 9th fetch land. I rarely have mana issues, so I think the mana base is pretty locked at this point. Now, our opponent only plays basic islands. That is a little bit weird, and I don't know what's going on. Maybe a blue-white deck that's missing the white sources or something, because 3 basic islands is a commitment. That no prowess deck or something like that will do, so... Alright, nothing happens, they miss the land drop. We don't have to fire off the Archmage Charm yet, because we have our land drop still. Now we have a Shark Typhoon that we can cycle end of turn, so... Let's keep the counter magic up, because now we have Archmage Charm plus Spell Snare. Against maybe a Remand, maybe they are a Reclamation deck or something. Serum Vision, so not a lot of decks are running Opt and Serum Visions. Still unsure, it could be a Brew, maybe a Time Warp deck or something, Mono Blue, Narset. It will be a matchup where Teferi Time Raveler will be good, that's for sure. And they'll play a Spire Bluff Canal, so it could still be Prowess, but that would be a horrendous keep. So could also be a Blue Moon deck. So I maybe want my basic forest here. Yes, no, I put back the Archmage Charm on top to keep up the counters. I mean, they probably can't resolve a Blood Moon here yet, and we have the basic lanes 2 already, so we are only missing the second green source for Uro. And that is really the only reason to get the green source in the first place, so... Yeah, so it could be a Blue Moon deck. Steam Vents. Yep. Okay, now it's a Storm matchup. And I think we go for the Spell Snare here. Don't let hit the Baral. Let the Baral hit the battlefield. Sure, we could path to Exile it, but in response they can go off, so let's not risk anything here. When we have the Spell Snare already. If they play out another Baral, then we can path to Exile in response to the first ritual or something, so if they go for more rituals, we can then hardcast the Force or something. So I think the Spell Snare here is correct. Because, yeah, sure, you could use the Spell Snare on the first ritual, but then they fire off the next ritual, then you have to fire off the pass or something, you increase the storm count, and suddenly something could go wrong, so... Let's use the Spell Snare, make a Shark. Pretty nice, because they can't remand it, they can't use their... what's the name? Gifts Ungiven here, unless they use a ritual, so... Yeah, and it creates a 2/2 to attack. Nice. So in 8 rounds we have won this, and yeah, we have a pretty good hand now at this point. We have the Goblin Plan covered, we still have a Path to Exile, we have 4 counters, and we have a Time Raveler in hand, so everything is set up. We have win conditions, we have counter magic, we have the removal. Just have to hope that they don't overload us some way. 6 mana. At one point they could storm off the hard way, but yeah. I think I fire off a Cryptic here just to hit more land drops, because we have to keep pace, and I don't need the second Cryptic. And bouncing the Spire Bluff Canal can buy us time. If we draw out a remand here, that is still fine. We can even use the path on the Shark here to just increase the use of our resources. Like, I don't think firing off Force of Negation here is correct. If they have another remand, this will fire back. And why risk it? Like, let them remand and fire off the path on the Shark to net us more resources. Sure, that puts away the clock, but see, drew just another path to Exile. So yeah, glad that we used paths. So now we also have 6 land drops. That's a good use of path to Exile. Like with Fatal Push, that is not possible. So this is something I also like about the white version, where pass sometimes sucks against aggro on the first turns and gives them more resources. I like it to occasionally ramp yourself up situations where you really need the land drop. So, and here now we stall them out a little bit, take away their resources. We have now 7 mana, so we can use Time Raveler, still have Cryptic up, and Force up. And Time Raveler hits, so no more end of turn action. They can't overload us that easily anymore, like end of turn Effect of Fiction or end of turn Gifts Ungiven, right? They have to do it all in their turn. And they can't use Remand anymore. So here comes a Baral. And I think using Cryptic here is fine, because we still have Force up against some rituals. Could also make the argument that we want Path to Exile and Archmage Charm, and then still have Force up, so that would be an additional counter. But they only have 4 mana. Sure, they have 7 cards in hand, but as long as we force a Gifts or a Past in Flames, I think everything is fine. But the scary thing is now if they drop in other creatures, so I think I should have used the Archmage Charm, or the Path to Exile. But then again, they can fire off all the rituals in respawns and create more mana this way, so... And if you use the Archmage Charm on the Baral, then it doesn't make a difference. So I think not relying on the path there has some value. Yeah, you can see they have multiple rituals, but now they only produce 1 extra mana instead of 2, so I think countering the Baral, while risky, was probably correct in hindsight. Like, they could have made so much mana in response. And forcing the first spell doesn't do anything because they had 4 mana up, so storm count is only 6, we are at 17. It's unlikely to die here because they can't remand their own Grape Shot. They need both Grape Shots, and even then would go to 2 right now, so very hard for them to storm off without the Lord and on 4 mana. Comes a Peer Through Depths. I think I let that resolve. Means they only have 3 mana now, and if they fire off another ritual, we can counter that and stop them. They grab the ritual indeed. They fire off the ritual, so we force here, stop their entire turn. I pitch the Archmage's Charm because I fear or think the only way to lose this is with against goblins. Maybe that was wrong. But another fetch land means we can put counter back on top and draw into it. Here we draw the Cryptic, so maybe I should have used Uro first in case we draw a fetch land. Alright, here comes the Uro. Put us back to 18. Yeah. Should have used Uro first. Well, then we would have drawn the Field of Ruin, I guess. So, yeah, the fetch land wouldn't be there. We could use the Uro, but I want to hold up Cryptic Command, just in case. And still path a Stormlord. They have only 4 cards, so unless they have a Past in Flames here, it's very unlikely that they do anything. If they go for the Goblins, we have that covered with the 1 Supreme Verdict in our deck, so feels pretty good. Can counter Gifts. Here to Depth is fine. That is 2 mana spent in this turn. Get another Ritual. That is also okay. No, they pick an Manamorphose. This was from prior. Right. Rape Shot. Sure, okay. Teferi is dead. Got him. 1 less spell to work with for you. Bye bye Teferi. It's nice to know you. But he replaced himself already and drew auto Grape Shot now, so he did its job, and now we put back a Force just to be safe. Then we have Cryptic plus Force up. We can now drop the Uro into play, and yeah, we have enough mana, right? 4, 8, 10 mana, so I don't think he can win from this position anymore because he only has 3 cards. He needs a very, very strong 4-card hand. And I think that's not possible between Cryptic and Force and Path to Exile. And now we have drawn another Force. So if he doesn't win this turn, which I doubt he can, he will never win again. And even if he drops some Goblins, we just Supreme Verdict them away and replay the Uro out turn after, so that's fine. 1 top, 1 bottom. The mountain, so less cards to work with again. And he has not even drawn more cards than we did, and he plays all the cantrips in the world, so here we draw another blue card for the second force, so it's nice. Don't need anything else. We never have to tap down again. That in a few turns. We are at 23, so even if he storms off a little bit, like, unless he gets all the resources of his graveyard again, he can't kill us the hard way anymore. So I want to reduce his resources. I don't think he runs more than 4 basics. Take away a land drop. Because we still have Cryptic Force up. Have Force, Cryptic, and Path up, and still the other Force. Pitching the other Uro. Yeah, this can resolve. Doesn't matter. Have to use the Force on the Past in Flames. Yeah, and he can't Grapeshot us the hard way. He needs a Past in Flames. And he doesn't have time to wait. So, okay, here comes a Goblin. Whatever. Another land drop. He goes to the next phase, so Path here. Case. Doesn't have any more basics, so better than Swords to Plowshares. And here, put him down to 4. Our hand is full. Can pitch the Oust. Never mind. Uru draws another land. Uses resources more. But yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. This is over. Alright, then we put in the other Supreme Verdicts because usually we lose to goblins, if nothing else. And then Dovin's Veto because uncounterable, Whale of Summer because they bring in Mystical Dispute and stuff like that. Whale of Summer also counters Gifts Ungiven. Aether Gust can answer all the rituals, Manamorphose. It can answer Goblin Electromancer. And Aria of Flames. I don't know if people run that still, but yeah, there you go. Now I don't like Jaces that much, especially since we have Fact of Fiction here. Tapping out is only really a possibility with Jace when you are very far ahead or the Storm opponent stumbles a lot. But then you can also just drop 3 mana Teferi and punish them this way. And yeah, that's the reason why I bought them out. Sometimes they bring in Lightning Bolt as of late too, so yeah. I think this hand is fine. We have a Mana Leak, a Path, Whale of Summer, and a Teferi. We only need land drops. Second path, not so exciting. Alright. At least no Stormlord on 2. There I made a mistake the last time where I pathed it prematurely and then we died because I gave him an extra land drop ahead of curve, so I'm glad I can't make the mistake here again. Just end of turn. Now drew the Aether Gust, which is okay, but we have to draw more land drops now. It's always scary missing the land drops. And yep. Missing the land drop again. Horrible. I don't think you need cantrips to hit your third land drop in 25 land decks. Junt does it without that. Here comes a Baral. And stupid me passed to Exiles with a green source. Directly into Remand while having 2 Whale of Summers. Yep. Stupid. Use the other path to Exile because I don't want to give him a loot. But should have used Whale of Summer to hit the land drop. Now I can't do that. Looks pretty bad. And of course we don't hit the land drop here. Immediately punished. It's probably beneath the Cryptic, so stupid magics. Tap your land, correct? Comes an Aria of Flame, so I can only hope. Doesn't have an answer to our Aether Gust, but I take the 10 life for now. Because that makes it harder for him to storm off with Grave Shots. And if he tries this the next turn, he needs another land drop so that we can't mana leak it. And yes, you notice, the land was beneath the Cryptic, so if we used Whale of Summer the turn before, we would have hit that, and then we could have dropped the Teferi Time Raveler maybe, or something. Well, now I'm behind my land drops even 2 turns. But now we can Mana Leak plus Whale of Summer at least, so we got that going for us. So now we can Mana Leak that. This time we hold up the green source. On, play Counterspell, give me the draw. No. I was already clicking on it. It is a red ritual. And this way he can pay for the Aria of Flames, of course, while Veto Summer still looks set in our hand. But on the bright side, he's tapped out, so we can bounce it back. We are now at 38 life. Please get us a land drop, Teferi. Nope. Well, now we have a Teferi in play. If they drop a Stormlord now, and the other 4 cards are enough juice, they could maybe win, but... well... what is it? Pieces of the puzzle? Nope, just another Aria, so we go to 48. That is quite a lot to burn us through, even with an Aria of Flames. Like, if we draw another Aether Gust or a Mystic Sanctuary to bounce it back on top of their deck, I don't know if they have ever enough spells to burn us out, so... don't know if Aria of Flames, for that matter, is a great card anymore, but... we shall see. With the Ritual, they can kill the Teferi here. That is a nice move. But if they use up a Ritual for that, I'm not sure that is good in this turn. Like, why do you have to do it here? You can wait. The next few spells make Aria bigger anyways. Now we miss hitting the 4th land drop in the top 14 cards. I don't want to Growth Spiral yet, because I fear dying if we don't hold up the Path to Exile. And we have a high enough life total that I can tank the Aria damage a little bit. Alright, here we go. Growth Spiral. Please, land drop. Yes, but a Sanctuary. Next land drop. Okay, here we go. Now we have equal land drops, so we can fetch out another Sanctuary for the Aether Gust and deal with the Aria of Flames this way. Here he goes for Effect of Fiction, and we certainly have to counter that. I can't give him all these resources. And since he's tapped out, we don't need Veto Summer. And bouncing Aria of Flames is also not the worst, because if we place it out again, we are at 53. Like, come on, at some point, they can't burn us out anymore, right? There you go. Alright. Another land drop. Chip the turn back. For now, we can keep open the Delta for Mystic Sanctuary. And another Aria of Flames. With 2, he can burn us out, so let's counter the second one. So he has this Aria of Flames. And finally some use for the Weight of Summers. And we found the Teferi to deal with the other Aria. Still gets to draw with Remand. That is nice about Remand. If the spell is uncounterable, you can cycle it. Use that a lot to my Twin Days. Now, we don't have to Aether Gust right away. And then we draw the other Sanctuary, which is awkward. And then I figured don't have to Aether Gust, because we have more in the deck and I can draw Snapcaster Mages, and we are still at 52. Like, he needs a lot of more cards to burn us out. Now we are at 55, so hold up Archmage's Charm plus Whale of Summer. And drop the Uro and kill him before he can kill us. Because at this point it seems like he can't really storm off and only tries to get us with the Aria of Flames, right? Alright, nothing happens. still have Whale of Summer in addition to Archmage's Charm, so he can't really fight back with Mystical Dispute or anything. Okay. Nothing happens, but he tried to attempt a spell, so he probably has another Fact of Fiction. So I don't play the Uro out here and just say go for now. Still at 52. Alright. Yeah, we have one more Aether Gust and 2 Snapcaster Mages in the deck, and I think one more Cryptic. So another Fact of Fiction that we have to counter. Let's not give him more resources. Okay, could pay here, but let's cycle this Whale of Summer finally. Okay, we drew a Supreme Verdict, not bad, because this covers goblins as well, if he runs that. Maybe as a one-off or something. So he has 5 cards in hand. We have 47 life and a Teferi in hand, which can deal with the Aria. Okay. Ritual. And Manamorphose. Trigger, trigger, trigger. 38. Lightning Bolts. Take 9 here, so we go T9. 3 more cards in hand. Storms on. Soon he's out of gas. With 3 more cards, could deal 7, 8, 9. So 15 plus 9, 24. So we would already be at 5 life. That escalated quickly, but then we can maybe put the Uro back into play. And we have the next spells covered. Or rather, we could also exile the Aria of Flames with the Teferi, and I think then he doesn't really have way back because he exhausted all of his resources and we still have Force in hand. And we can still counter the last cantrip if he goes for that or something, so I think it's unlikely that he kills us here on 29 life, but you never know. Okay, let's jump ahead because nothing apparently happens here. And he uses Empty the Warrens, so I'm glad we found the Supreme Verdict. So, army of goblins. Yep, 22 already. So we have the Supreme Verdict here. That means we don't have a white source. No, we have another white source, but we missed the 5th mana for the Teferi. Yeah, I count it, but we can't do that. So we Supreme Verdict here, and then I figured, okay, let's fetch out the basic forest and drop the Uro into play. Go back to 24 life and hold up Force. And yeah, if he just draws another land, because he only has 5 in play, I don't think he can kill us with 2 spells. Aria of Flames can only kill planeswalkers or target the player, so Uro is pretty safe. Still leave Aether Gust in the bin. Maybe we draw a Snapcaster Mage, maybe another Cryptic. Okay, now we have Path to Exile up as well. 24 life against 3 cards and an Aria of Flames. See if we can survive that. Okay, a redraw. It's a good land to draw at least. And 13 against Storm. And Grape Shot. Alright, take 1 plus 8, 9 damage here. And he has a remand, so now we have to counter the remand or else we are dead. I think. Because then he draws another card, and maybe if it's a ritual, we just die against Grape Shot pretty soon. Could also just gather some more cards in hand, so well. Now we go to 9. He can redraw and then has 2 cards in hand. So yeah, we drew the Oust, so I take a risk here, I guess, and oust my own Uro. Go back to 12 at least, but not exciting, of course. Really need a Snapcaster Mage or just another Aether Gust, or even a 3-mana Teferi. We also have that still in the deck. Like, all right, dead against 2 spells, not dead against 1 spell. For that reason, we have to force here. Hope he doesn't have another remand or something. All right, take 10 to 2. Next draw will be the Uro again, but he will not put us above 11. So let's. Oh yeah, the draw afterwards will be Uro. So I think I just cycle it here for 2. And hope that Uro then can find us another Gust Snapcaster Mage. A 3-mana Teferi, just something. Alright. Go to 5. And draw land, unfortunately. Well, here goes nothing. Go to 8 at least. Hope that he bricks and maybe draws a creature or another land. Because he only used 1 Baral, I think? No, not even that. Like, he didn't drop a single creature, so we still have a chance to survive. Alright. Run all the paths, I guess. So, yeah, if he draws any spell, we are dead. But he has a lot of lands left in the deck and all the creatures. Just this, nice. Just an island. Ah, don't give me all the removal deck. Or give me not the wrong removal. Oh, he still has 2 more draws before he's dead, really. Come on, Cryptic, Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, there we go. Okay, finally got it. Can't fire this off quick enough. And I think we use Cryptic here, just bounce draw. It's better than Aether Gust. Yeah, and if you replace it, we go to 21. That is too much. So, finally. And yeah, the next card would have also solved it afterwards. So, nice, nice, nice. See you back for round 3. Alright, round 3. Opponent opened up with Krenko and Anti-Solval and drops an Aether Vial. So I think I fire off Force here because Force won't have any other targets. And the Cryptic, the second one, is pretty slow. Then I hope that the Oust will be somewhat good. So we're playing against Goblins. It could be aggro Goblins or it could be the combo Goblins list with a Snoop, with a new card from M21. Everyone on Goblins, so I'm glad I pitched the Cryptic, I guess. And here comes a Skirk Prospector. That is scary if they have War Marshal and stuff. Well, they Inquisition away our only spot removal. Now we have a Cryptic and 3 lands, so also only 1 Supreme Verdict in the deck. Like, yeah, as I mentioned, I played 4 or 5 leagues with Bant, never faced really any creature matchups where you want for a Supreme Verdict, and I mostly pitched it to Force, so here you go in this league and immediately find matchups where, yeah, you always win Supreme Verdict. He drops the Snoop, Mage Run in hand, so we could be dead soon, especially since I don't have anything here. No reason to hold up Mana Leak because he has Cavern of Souls, so yep, drop the Uro and just pray that we find Path to Exile pretty soon for this Snoop and that Uro can stabilize. But he has the Harbinger here, he puts Kiki Jiki on top and makes infinite Snoops. So, game over. And yeah, you can see if he puts this on top, this has the ability and he makes infinite Snoops. So let's go to sideboard. Put in all the Aether Gusts, Celestial Purge, Timely Reinforcement, Supreme Verdict, Condemn, like, let's go heavily on the spot removal, let's go on life gain and mass removal, and then we put out the dead counter magic. Teferi doesn't seem that great either, but at least this can bounce like an Aether Vial or something. Graveyard, it doesn't matter. So Soul Guide Lantern, also not that important, and then I bring out all the forces because I could make an argument to bring in Veto Summer against their discard and drop the Teferi Time Raveler, but since we are on the play, I figure Teferi can at least bounce an Aether Vial and slow them down. Maybe you want to bring in an Veto Summer over a Jace, also because Veto Summer can protect your Planeswalkers from Munition Expert, the red-black goblin that can target a Planeswalker and deal damage to it for the amount of goblins they have in play, or a creature, and you can prevent that with Veto Summer because it's black, so here they go, revealing a Goblin War Sheaf. Our hand has at least an Aether Gust into Uro, into Cryptic, so if they don't have Cavern of Souls, that could be good. They have the Aether Vial start, we draw Path to Exile, which is nice, so 2 removal spells in hand, then Uro to ramp, and the Teferi to deal also with the creature. Doesn't seem horrendous. Have Cavern of Souls here, but we can still Aether Gust. And definitely Aether Gust the Snoop, but they will probably put it back on top because it's too good. Yeah, nothing to do here, like have to hold up this Path to Exile here, I think, because the board is empty, and I would rather ramp ahead to my double removal next turn. If they don't commit too much, we can also Shark Typhoon as a blocker. But here they have a Skirk Prospector, so with the Walk War Marshal, they can make mana or other goblins that create tokens. They drop the Snoop back in play and find another Skirk Prospector that they can play from the top. Another war. No, this is the same war sheep they showed us. And they make the red mana for free, drop the war chief, and attack us for 5 here. Yeah, now we have Aether Gust plus Path to Exile up, so at least 2 removal spells. Draw a land, 2 unknowns. Well, now they have another Chieftain. And they have a Sling Gang Commander, or Sling Gang Lieutenant, which creates tokens, which then creates mana with the Skirk Prospector, so... And... surprise, surprise, there's a Kiki on top, so suddenly they have the combo. Yeah! Sometimes they get lucky, I guess. I don't know how much Kikis they run. I would think 2 at most. But here he has it. Keeps open the Snoop. I use my Aether Gust here. Try to stem the bleeding. We know that they have a 4-drop in hand, so only 1 unknown. If they go for the Snoop here, they can't kill us this turn because they are already inside combat, so... yeah, I try... no, we don't have to path to Exile right away, but I will definitely path the Snoop. because they can put in the Kiki. I guess, yeah, I guess I still want to path the Snoop because it's 3/3 in the end and makes card advantage, so. Alright, what do they do in response? They activate the Vial for 3, put in Pasha Lick and make infinite tokens, and that will kill us in the end step, because whenever a token dies, we take a damage. So, I would say they had a pretty insane draw there. Else we would have probably stabilized, at least with Uro. I don't think their aggro plan works against our 6/6. We still had Cryptic in hand and Teferi Teferi Hero of Dominaria then, so they hit insanely well. Unfortunately. Let's go to the next match. And here we have a hand with some removal spells, 2 land drops, so I think you can keep this. Play against another Windswept Heath. So a Noble Hierarch deck probably. There are some banned decks that run this as 25th land drop or something. So it's not entirely clear, but on average it's a Noble Hierarch deck or an Absent deck or something. So could have a Tarmogoyf or Dark Confident here or something. Okay, Inkmoth Nexus, so Black Infect. And now my hand doesn't look that hot. Aether Gust is still nice against Infect because it can counter all their pump spells, it can answer a Glistener Elf or Noble Hierarch. That's why I like Aether Gust even in the main nowadays, because there's so many targets to hit with it. It's rarely dead, which is funny. Think about it. Luckily I drew the Oust. Thankfully we have 6 spot removal in our deck, or 6 white spot removal. So this is a pretty nice turn to use the Oust. It doesn't give them an extra land, so if they want to attack us with the Inkmoth Nexus, they can't do it, and they can only do it really if they have another land drop, because else the protection is down. And okay, Noble Hierarch. That's okay. We build towards this Supreme Verdict. And we can now use Aether Gust on the Noble Hierarch and restrict their resources a little bit more. Or just use Path on Inkmoth Nexus and use Aether Gust to tag the protection spell. Okay, they dropped the Plagueis Stinger instead. This is then a fine situation to Supreme Verdict because they have only 1 land drop still. They are missing. And they even play more into the Verdict. Again, remember, we have 1 Verdict in the deck. I just put out the second copy, and yeah, want it so far in every matchup we play. This is really hilarious. Because as I mentioned, I promise, in all the last 4 leagues, there was not a single time I wanted Supreme Verdict. I played against Adnos, I played against Tron, I played against Control, and that's mostly it. And I never wanted Supreme Verdict. Weird aura decks or something. Suddenly you play a league where you want it in every damn matchup. Okay, we take 1 Infect here. Maybe if they have Mutagenic Growth, a little bit more, but they don't have that. So being at 1 Infect on turn 6 or 5 is pretty good. And yeah, we still have Path plus Aether Gust up, so no reason to tap out. I mean, yeah, okay, you can pseudo tap out. I mean, we still have 2 mana up, so don't think we die on 1 Infect here with them having only at most 2 land drops. Like, they can't really commit to a lethal strike against Path to Exile. Also nice about the white removal is that after Sideboard, they can't protect their Infect creatures with Veil of Summer from our removal spells, so as crappy as Path to Exile sometimes is, there are certainly reasons why it's still okay to run over Fatal Push or something like that. And now with the Teferi uptick, we have so much mana available that we can safely play the Uro out and still ship the turn back with 5 mana up. So we have Mana Leak, Aether Gust, and Path to Exile here. Against an empty board, there's no way for them to ever win this anymore. Like, this is over. Even if they draw some discard or something, we have so much counters to protect our hand. And the Teferi will then soon hit ultimate and exile whatever is left of them. So they see this and concede. And here I bring in Veil of Summer because usually they run a lot of discard. We can also protect Teferi Time Raveler, which is probably the best finisher in the game here in this matchup from Abrupt Decay. Put in Dovin's Veto as another counter spell, Aether Gust against Glistener Elf and all their green pump spells, protection spells, and Noble Hierarch. Condemn, of course. Celestial Purge against their flyer. Maybe they bring in Liliana or something. And I bought out one Cryptic. I think I misjudged that because they are not running blue, so we don't have to face Spell Pierce. They have Veil of Summer, but maybe you want the Cryptic over Archmage Charm simply because it can tap that team or something. And yeah, what to board out then? I cut the Growth Spirals because I think all the other cards are better that we have. Maybe you can cut one Uro or something because if you stabilize, you don't have to kill them immediately. Just have to build up this wall of removal and counter spells, and with Mystic Sanctuary, usually they can't come back anymore. And we still have Fact or Fiction, of course. Okay, let's jump ahead because it takes some time here. This is a fine hand. We have 2 removal spells. We have the Veil of Summer to protect our hand from discard down the line. And we have a Shark Typhoon, which also creates a blocker that flies. So that's also nice against Inkmoth Nexus. Because it replaces itself, of course, too. Kind of like Ice-fang. This matchup was really easy when Ice-fang was in the deck because they can't really get through it. But I think the matchup is still fine if you have enough spot removal. Don't draw all the lands. Yeah, here we have already the Field of Ruin in the deck against Inkmoth, so we only have to stall out a little bit. Hope they don't go under us or something. Veil of Summer up in case they play an Inquisition now. Feels good. Don't even miss Lightning Bolt or something like that against them. Let's see. And they drop the Plagueis Stinger, which is okay. We don't have to deal with it immediately. Next turn we have double white up. I should held up the double white with Fetchland here. I don't think Breeding Pool was necessary. But they, yeah. I think I should have held up the second white source just in case they go very aggressive all in here. Like the only reason to, yeah, it's not even a reason to play the Bleeding Pool if we want, or if you expect a discard, because we could use the Temple Garden and still fetch out a Hallowed Fountain, so. And the damage doesn't matter as much in this matchup. There are games where if you go too low, they kill you with a Noble Hierarch and become immense and stuff like that, but there. Okay, here they go for the Inkmoth Nexus. Now I can't attempt to deal with either of those because they still have a green source up, so make a quick pause. Indicate that we have removal. If they now go for something, we could still path. They don't. So right? So even if we would have fetched out Hallowed Fountain last turn, I think you want the Breeding Pool then at least in this turn and don't play Field of Ruin. Because you want to protect yourself really from the discard with the Whale of Summer here. Now we have a Force up, so I don't think they can ever protect their creatures from this removal here. This is fine. Need to counter that. And here is one of the rare occasions where I fight over this inside combat, simply because we have Force of Negation and Path to Exile still up. So I wait till their attack, so that they can't activate Inkmoth Nexus. They go for the Vines, and I still hold up the Path to Exile and use the Force here. Could have used Path to Exile, but that gives them more resources, and I think Path is still good down the line, so drop the Shark for now. Mana looks perfect now. And since they don't have any protection up, we can Field of Ruin the Inkmoth away, have Path against a second Inkmoth or something, maybe against another Stinger. Yeah, still have Whale of Summer up against this card as well. Let's see, a Peatland, it's a redraw. And what do they drop? Phyrexian Crusader, and I totally forgot about this card. This was not on my radar. If you read this, protection from white. So we have not a lot of answers against it. One of the answers notably is an Uro to stonewall it. Or like a Jace, which are not in the deck anymore, or Cryptic to bounce it, or the Shark Typhoon with a big shark to block it, but I pitched that to the Force, but we found the Uro, so yeah, we can only hope that they don't go for the Jugular here. Okay, find an Archmage Charm. At least that can prevent one pump spell. And the next turn we drop the 6/6 in play, and then we have at least a blocker for the Phyrexian Crusader and draw ourselves deeper into the deck. Supreme Verdict is of course also an out, once again. And yeah, here I think we have to counter this. Hope they don't have Whale of Summer in hand. Because if the Spell Bomb resolves, they get more resources and take away our blocker with Uro, so we are forced to counter that. And luckily they don't have Whale of Summer. Nor did they lead with a discard spell. So they pump the Crusader to a 6/6. Don't have Become Immense or Scale Up. Kill us. So we are staying at 8. We drew only lands, but we could use Mystic Sanctuary here. And since we know they didn't have another pump spell here, I think we should put a counter spell on top, honestly. Just to be sure. Like the Uro can Stonewall, and if we prevent the pump spell to for them to make the Crusader bigger than a 6/6, then we are fine. And here I'm looking at my deck list. For some reason I didn't put Archmage Charm back on top, because we are missing the other blue source, but I would have gotten there with Flooded Strand, so I think I should have put Archmage Charm on top just to be sure. Well, okay. At least then the Uro trades and we can replay it, so maybe it's also not necessary. I can use the Flooded Strand to do that next turn. This could mean a fatal push here, but we have Snap Whale of Summer. Okay, just a Stinger, but we have the answer for that, so no big deal. They also have an Inkmoth Nexus lying around in the back row, so we are at 8, we can't take too much hits. And the Flyers are now worrisome. Really needed a Shark Typhoon in hindsight. Creating a 3/3 Shark would have been all we needed. Then we draw the Supreme Verdict, so this changes something. Now we can attack, draw an extra card, drop the Supreme Verdict, and hold up Path to Exile for the Inkmoth Nexus if they try to pump. One other Snapcaster Mage, that is one too much, certainly. Here we go. Supreme Verdict away the Crusader. Once more Supreme Verdict rescues today. This is Supreme Verdict's leak. Alright, 2 cards in hand. We have Path plus Snap Path. Or Condemn, or Snap Condemn, and if they protect and respawns, we can still attempt the Path to Exile, and then they need a second protection spell, so... Okay, Noble Hierarch is fine. Can still do the same play I just described. Let them attack. Play Snapcaster Mage on Condemn. Alright. And yeah, in this case they don't have the protection spells, so it's also fine. Don't have to do anything here. We can put Supreme Verdict back on top and clean up the ground creatures, honestly. Something we can do. I think I do that here. No? Okay. Well, I mean, they don't have any cards in hand, so this is also okay. Like, they can't get between Path to Exile and Condemn, and we have the ground blocker for the Glistener Elf, so I don't risk a lot. If they go for a discard spell, we still have Snapcaster Mage, so yeah, I think this play is also fine. Drops the Uro 1 turn earlier into the game instead of Supreme Verdict. Then they have the rest, doesn't matter, like I described. Whatever they pick, we have Snapcaster to double it up, so I don't have to care about that. Still one Snapcaster too much, probably. The mana leak. Matter. I don't think we have to path here. Like, Snapcaster Mage can still block. Now we have the Veil of Summer against another discard or removal spell. We have all the mana available. We can still block the Glistener Elf with a Snapcaster Mage. So we don't need the second one, really. A little bit suspense here. Let's jump ahead. Boom. Inquisition. Veil of Summer. Thanks and bye-bye. Leave me alone with your discard nonsense. Alright. Then end of turn, we can use the Snap on Veil of Summer to draw an extra card, put a blocker into play for the Glistener Elf, and also fetch the basic forest here. Right, find Celestial Purge for Stinger, and then we find the Time Raveler, which prevents any protection, and yeah. With Pass, Condemn, and Snap in hand, they can't win anymore. Even if they drop a Crusader here, doesn't matter, because we have Snap Mana Leak. So, can attack for 8 as well. And draw another Condemn. Yep, and he kills himself. Nice. Okay, last match. And we are playing against Osman. Usually played Fairies back in the day. He was also on the Pro Tour or something. Saw him there one time with a Fairies deck of him. See if he runs Fairies today as well. Places Steam Vents untapped. So no Fairies, I think. Is it Fairies are not a thing, right? Is it Wizards was a thing? Hogland was piloting that on an SCG event. Star City Games event, but that was a long time ago. Right. Hold up Mana Leak and Aether Gust here. Takes some while, then he opts, right? And plays Stomping Ground. We play the island and pass. Still hold up Mana Leak or Aether Gust. If nothing happens, we can Shark Typhoon. And he played land and the Uro, so let's make use of the Aether Gust. Could be a Reclamation deck, so Aether Gust could be nice, but yeah, let's put that to use and attack his green source here. Hold up Mana Leak. Didn't fetch out a forest, so yeah, we also use Field of Ruin to force shuffle his deck so that he wouldn't draw this Uro. Maybe he doesn't have more, so would have dealt with that then. He has the other green source, but plays a tapped, so he didn't have the Uro. Alright, then we just play land go. Now we have a Shark Typhoon for X equals 3, which is still in bold range, but hey, it's a free draw, so he also cycles one of his land drops. Probably has more in hand then. And yeah, still the question, what does he run exactly? Could still be a Timor Reclamation deck with Ren and 6 and 4 Urus and Vector Fictions, right? And all this jazz with Remand. There's several of these variants running around. Has drawn another Uro. Could Mana Leak that here, but feels like a waste, kind of. Prevents the redraw, but might need the Mana Leak against Reclamation. Sometimes they run Primeval Titan or Hour of Promise, stuff like that. So wasting the Mana Leak on the Uro has some cost. It's an island and plays a Valakut. So at this point it has to be a Scapeshift variant, right? Or they just jam in a Valakut nowadays because they have so much mountains. Could also be the case just as a value pick for Primeval Titan or Hour of Promise. We fetch out the second green source for an Uro and cycle our Shark. Not play into Remand. Create a 3/3 here. Go. We can attack. It's my land drop here. Pressure. Nice. Then we can drop the Uro because we still have Mana Leak and Force up. That's what I mentioned in the deck introduction. These are the turns where you really want Force in hand to safely tap out. Then the Uro hits the land drop. And we go back to 17 and ship the turn back. Nice. Now he wants to kill our Shark, and we have 2 paths to exiles. He has only 1 Uro, so we can make use of one of the paths here and ramp ahead. We still have Mana Leak and Force up, so this lets us keep pace with his land drops, and I think, yeah, this is one of the good uses of Path to Exile. You can ramp up with your own creatures. Build your own R6. He has 6 mana. For Escape Shift, he needs another land drop. But at this point, he can also just drop mountains and eventually get this Valakut off until we hit another Field of Ruin. That is. If it's Timor, they usually run only 1 or 2 Valakuts, so yeah. And here he goes for Escape Shift. We can't Mana Leak that, so I have to pitch the Shark Typhoon because if they have still a Remand in hand, I need the Mana Leak. Alright. Now with the Mana Leak we can drop our Uro into play though. They have a hard time dealing with that. We can put the Force of Negation back on top in case they have another Scapeshift. So if they just repeat this turn with another Scapeshift and remand in hand, we need the Force again. Deal with that. Hopefully draw into another blue card with the Uro. Because Uro costs 4. We have only 7, so I can't Mana Leak then. So it would be really good if we draw another blues card. Then the Uro can win this game because they don't have good removal against it, unless they have Lightning Bolt plus enough mountains for the Valakut. Are going over 18, so yeah, I mean they have 7, right? They need an 8 land drop. Deal enough damage to kill us then. And we drew the blue card with the Cryptic, so now we have Force plus Mana Leak again. Still relevant here against Remand. If they have double Remand now with the next land drop, of course that's not possible anymore. Draw Spiral, that is fine. Means digging for stuff. Another land drop means no counter, no Scapeshift, so he still needs another mountain to activate or to enable Valakut for the mountain after the next, so still a little bit away. 3 cards in hand, 2 cards in hand, and the Uro in the bin, but we have Path to Exile for that, so it's only 1 redraw. If we can untap with Cryptic, Mana Leak, and Force up, I think can't do a lot anymore. Because these decks run a lot of land drops for the Scapeshift, so very likely that they flood out. Here comes the Uro. We have to let that resolve, because if we fight over that in some way, I mean, we can't, but if we would, they can still have a Scapeshift, so just Path to Exile it before they can draw an answer or something, but yeah. This could give them a basic mountain, of course, and then they have the fetch land available to trigger the Valakut. So with a Lightning Bolt, they can then kill our Uro. And we have to make a commitment. Because they can still have Remand in hand. Since they didn't play a single one so far, they have 4 usually, so that's a lot. And even have Cryptic in hand, so. Okay, they put an Scalding Tarn into play, so this could be the 6th mountain. Right, an opt. Sit on bottom, so he's searching. Right, he doesn't have double green up for Escape Shift, but can change quickly. Okay, 5th mountain. Next fetch. Okay, and a Triumph, but that means no green, additional green this turn, so no Scape Shift. Don't have to fear that. But I still hold up Mana Leak in case they have a Remand here for their own Lightning Bolt. That would be a total blowout. So we have to pitch the Cryptic. Right? If they remand their own bolt, they can replay the bolt and get everything, and we have really here naked. Here I deny them the redraw, but now they have an Uro in the bin. We are both in top deck mode, so we don't have the Cryptic in the graveyard, unfortunately, because we pitched it. So yeah, now I can't put it back into my hand. Can use the Aether Gust if we want to, and put that back into our hand. Maybe we can find a Jace or something here, so I don't know. You could make an argument that you want the Aether Gust to prevent the Uro, but if we would hit a Planeswalker here, like a Jace or Teferi, I think that has more upside, and we can still deal with their Uro if we put the Path to Exile back on top, so at worst it's just a redraw, or an extra draw. So I think spiking for the Jace there is better, because then we can Fate Seal them, see what they will draw, and can't really kill it. We can then Brainstorm away every turn, so it would have been massive upside. There. Now I have to put the Path to Exile back on top. Or we put the Aether Gust back on top, draw into it with the Growth Spiral, and deny them the draw. Then they can maybe opt into it again, but the graveyard is empty, so I think this play is also fine. Doesn't get rid of the Uro permanently, but in case they drew a Lightning Bolt, they can not kill the Uro then if they search for a mountain with a Path to Exile or draw into it with the Uro trigger. But they drew another Uro, and this Uro finds the Uro, and then they go back to 12. Yep. That's a shame. Made some good use of our main deck Aether Gust here, but still can't prevent all the Uros. And he doesn't play the other one for some reason. We drew our second Mana Leak, which is the worst draw here probably of them all. And here, just another land drop, so we did draw nothing. We are still dead under any scape shifts here. 2 cards in hand, and the Uro. Graveyard if he has a lot of cantrips. And, well, an Is a Charm for the loot. That puts at least 3 cards in the bin, and if he finds a scape shift, he can win here. So we are living at the edge. But the long wait here means that he doesn't have the scape shift at least. Or that's what I am interpreting into it. That's my educated guess here. Alright, 1 card in hand. Not enough for the Uro yet. And he has drawn another Is a Charm for another loot. Oh, now the Uro is live again, even without the hand, but he draws another card, and here we can't still Mana Leak it, because he has exactly 3 mana open. Insane, but here, there you go. Played the Snow-Covered Island, and did not keep Growth Spiral there over it, so yeah, smart play. Can't Mana Leak this damn Uro. Then he draws another card, goes back to 6 life, and can block our Uro. At least he can't scape shift us here, so we have that going for us, but this Mana Leak is not looking good. Really need the Jace or something, maybe another Cryptic, but okay. At least if he has a remand now, we can Mana Leak that when we recast our Uro. On something good. The Condemn could also have been a Path to Exile, then we could path the Uro here before he blocks. Alright. Uro straight, we replay our Uro. Don't need Mana Leak in the graveyard anymore. And the Growth Spiral then, I guess. Path to Exile is still valuable in case we draw Snapcaster Mage. It's a removal against the Uros. And we draw the Cryptic Command, so now I don't want to use Field of Ruin on their Valakut, because we have Cryptic plus Mana Leak for whatever that is worth. Oh, still at 6. He has 2 cards in hand. Condemn doesn't do anything, but so would be Supreme Verdict. Like, that would also be dead here. There's only 1 more land drop, so we have drawn pretty evenly. Cryptic. Bounce, draw. He has 1 card in hand. A fight over this here. Can't even really argue about that. If he has a second Cryptic, he gets us. If he has a remand, well, can remand his own Cryptic and replay a Cryptic on the Uro, but he doesn't have that, so I get rewarded here. If I give him all the redraws, he can assemble the counter hand again, so I wanted to go and end this game there. And we bought out our dead spot removal, bring in Whale of Summer against his counters. Aether Gust is obviously good because it answers Scapeshift and Uro, and Dovin's Veto against Scapeshift and counter magic. And yeah, that's it. Ashiok, of course, to prevent Scapeshift as well, can answer their Uros and help our Uros. And since the games are going so long and we have Aether Gust to answer their win conditions, I think I bought out Mana Leak here. Like, this card is not convincing, and I bought out the Jace because it is hard to protect, and I think that Fact or Fiction is a good substitution. And yeah, we have still the Sharks, Teferi, and Uro. Maybe you can make the argument that you want 1 Jace instead of 1 Snapcaster Mage, maybe. Spell Snare is still fine against Remand, Growth Spiral, Is it Charm, stuff like that. And we want at least 3 Path to Exiles to answer their Uros once they hit the battlefield. Or to ramp up again. Ramping with a Shark token, like we did in game 1. Let's see. This is our hand. We have Uro, Teferi, and that Snapcaster Mage, but we have 4 land drops, so I think I keep this. We have so much counter spells in the deck that the probability of drawing some is very high at this point. And then the first draw is another land. So if they have a Growth Spiral heavy hand, they can really outramp us here, like Growth Spiral into Uro, into another Growth Spiral or something, and then they can resolve Scapeshift with counter backup where we don't have enough resources to counter that. Let's see, a bit of waiting here. Place a Breeding Pool tapped, we draw just another land, so nothing going on. He plays another land drop and an opt, end of turn. Since I don't have to fear a Cryptic yet, and they usually don't play anything on 4, I think I try an Uro here to put these lands into play and draw into more action finally. And if we draw out some counter magic here, they have less when we try to force through this Teferi. So here we go. They remand the Uro, but yeah, as I mentioned, there's not a lot of fear from the Scapeshift deck yet. If they drop like an Obstinate Bellows, I don't know if they run that anymore with Uro in the deck, but if they would drop it, we still have Teferi Time Raveler. I guess an Tireless Tracker would be pretty bad, but we can't answer that anyway, so why not take the chance there? They drop their own Uro and maybe hit the 5th land drop here. Yep. Now they still have Remand up. But we have Teferi plus Whale of Summer, and since we're only drawing lands, I figure let's jam it. If they drop the Uro, we can bounce it back to hand at least. And we get our draw here from the Veil of Summer as well. If they drop a land, a Growth Spiral into another land, into Scapeshift, they could get us. Right, land is the next land drop is number 6. With Growth Spiral, they can put land number 7 in play. We are exactly at 18, and if they have Scapeshift, they could kill us. Uptick because of Lightning Bolt. Let's see what they are doing now. But yeah, if they go for the Scapeshift line again, we can't stop that anyways. So take my chances there. Put Mystical Dispute back on top, which means one less card for the Uro in the bin. But that is a good card to have if you want to force through the Scapeshift. So, and they bounced the Teferi into Mystical Dispute, so we can't replay the Teferi. That is a pretty nice move. I like that play. And okay, now we drew our own Cryptic Command. So yeah, let's play, draw, go again. At least we have enough land drops, so as the game progresses now, if they don't have a lot of counter spells alongside the Scapeshift, and they go for it immediately, or they don't go for it immediately, we can still win, and they seem not to have it. We know that they have Mystical Dispute in hand, so 3 unknowns. And here since we have all the land drops for the next turns covered, I put Veil of Summer back on top. Because I really have to win the counter war over Scapeshift, so Veil of Summer can do that pretty efficiently. What you could do, for example, if they put the Scapeshift on the stack, just play Veil of Summer. Yes, it doesn't draw a card, but all your counter spells are already uncounterable. And if they try to get the Veil of Summer then, you would still draw a card. That is kind of how the Adnos decks are doing that. They use the Veil of Summer kind of as a silence. Here they fetch out another Sanctuary and put Remand on top. So they have Remand, Mystical Dispute, and 2 unknowns. With the Scapeshift, they have 4 mana open for counter spells. So here I use my chance and use Archmage Charm to draw some. If they use a counter spell like a Cryptic, at least that is gone. They don't counter, so now we have Force of Negation and another Veil of Summer. So if we find another green source, I don't think they can win a counter war anymore. Okay, they don't do anything. So we play the Snapcaster Mage, aim for the Archmage Charm. If they remand, we can still fire off one of the Veil of Summers. And even if they win the counter war, so be it, like, no big deal. Alright, they don't do anything. Now we have 8 cards, so I use the window and path to exile my own Snapcaster Mage. If they have a Lightning Bolt, so be it. Alright, that works, so we get the other green source. I use path to exile in this video a lot to ramp up, but hey, that's the versatility of the card. Now we can put it back on top for the Uro in their graveyard, just in case. And ship the turn back. But then I notice, hey, you have 2 green sources, and you have the Time Raveler and the Force. So let's go for the Teferi. And they open up with the Remand. So we Veil of Summer here. Mystical Dispute. We can still pay that, but we know they have it. And 3 unknowns. We still have Cryptic plus Veil of Summer, and then we have Force of Negation up for their turn. So, okay, Cryptic, 1 mana, answer it. Now they have 2 mana open, Mystical Dispute, 2 unknowns. And they remand again. Now we can decide here, I use the Cryptic here, counter draw, and resolve Teferi, uptick. Then he can only really use Uro, but we still have Aether Gust, Path to Exile, and the Teferi, and our own Uro. So I think we are far ahead at this point. If they bounce the Teferi again, so be it. I think I will let that resolve. Let me just aim to resolve it again. Uptick because Lightning Bolt. Okay, they tap 4 mana. If they have double Scapeshift, they get us, of course. But then we go into game 3 and they only have 4 minutes on the clock, so... Okay, here only comes the Uro, that is fine. Just a redraw. But at this point they can't win counter wars, and if we can untap, there's no way they resolve Scapeshift anymore. Alright. 4 mountains with the Triumph. So no Valakut yet. Then we uptick the Teferi, make it bigger, Path to Exile the Uro, play the land, and then we have Aether Gust, and 2 forces up. So, another 4-1 for the home team. Yeah, so we made another 4-1. Here you can see the deck list again. Yeah, I was certainly pleased with the deck list. It feels better than the first iterations, honestly. It is more fluent, kind of. We have more win conditions. Guess we are still missing here the 2 Shark Typhoons on the picture, so it's maybe... Yeah, this is the full deck list. Here you go. So I like the Shark Typhoons because they also scaled into the late games, so they are a pretty nice top deck, actually. And right now there are a lot of Remand decks around, a lot of Uro decks around, so I think the uncounterable is certainly nice. We have more spot removal than usual to counter the aggressive decks. Now in this league we didn't really find an aggressive matchup. I mean, we faced goblins, but that is more like a combo deck nowadays instead of an aggressive deck. Sure, they can sometimes overwhelm you with a few goblins, but that is a matchup where timely reinforcements and Uro are good enough to stabilize against this plan, I think. Now, I mentioned how in the last leagues I didn't want Supreme Verdict. Well, in this league, it was nice in 4 matchups, so maybe we still want the Supreme Verdict in the main deck. Second copy, I mean, and put the Condemn back in the sideboard, because I want Condemn only against Prowess and Burn, and Supreme Verdict seems like against more matchups overall, and Supreme Verdict can at least be pitched. Soul Guide Lantern, we had it in the games against the Heliod combo deck. In the situation we had it, we cycled it. I think Ashiok in that position would have been also fine because it prevents Court of Calling, but they didn't have that in game 1, and we were far enough ahead that it didn't matter. So the nice thing was that we could squeeze the Lantern in with the 1 Field of Ruin we had in this Supreme Verdict turn, so that felt good. Besides that, yeah, there was no use for the Soul Guide Lantern, I guess. I like the Force of Negation because we faced Storm and, of course, the Scapeshift matchup, where Force certainly came up. Yeah, where it was pretty important to have it in hand, honestly. Like, there was the Scapeshift turn where we would have died if we did not have the Force of Negation. So, that's pretty important. Of course, against Storm, it's also nice to have because that allows you to play your Uros and Teferis in the first place. Like, Force of Negation is kind of the hidden glue that keeps these decks together because they allow you to tap out on the draw for an Uro or something and still have a good chance of not dying. The growth spirals were okay. Maybe you don't need them, I don't know. Maybe you can run more Shark Typhoons. If you cut both growth spirals and include 1 Shark Typhoon, maybe 2, Then you have all the cantrips for 2 mana, with the upside that Shark Typhoon can kill your opponent actually. And it's pretty cheap to play under Blood Moon. But sometimes ramping up with the Growth Spiral can also come up, so I don't know. Still undecided about this. The mana base felt very nice. We rarely had any issues with our mana, if I tapped correctly. The Archmage's Charm was okay. We used it quite some time to draw 2 cards, so I still like 1 copy at least in the deck. Yeah, there's nothing really to comment anymore, I think, because I have already talked so much about the deck, and also in the last videos I talked quite a bit. At this point, it's mostly like grind away, gather the 4/1s, gather the 3/2s, and make value. So the Dovin's Veto is the only sideboard card I'm unsure right now. Sure, you can switch around the Condemn with a Supreme Verdict between sideboard and mainboard. If you suspect more burn and prowess, I think Condemn is nice. If you suspect more tribal Noble Hierarch decks, then you want Supreme Verdict. But I don't face Noble Hierarch that much. Maybe with Ponzar in the meta, Supreme Verdict is still correct because you have to clean up these Pyromancer tokens. Yeah, but besides that, play the deck, it's great. I like the white splash. I think overall now a little bit more than Sultai because I can use Path to Exile to build my own Farseeks, and I like the Teferis a lot. So I will grind with this a little bit more, see how it goes, and hopefully see you back for the next video. Have a great day. Bye bye. Magic's out.